BookTube, Thea here, and this video is going to be my first February book haul. Book haul has a total of 13 books, so I'm not going to spend too much time kind of going over them. A lot of them I don't know too much about since I kind of just picked them up from Book Outlet and didn't really read summaries on them at all. Book haul is separated into 3 sections. The first section is going to be a book I received from Penguin Random House for review. The second section is the 2 books that I picked up from the library, and the third section is the books that I bought. So let's go ahead and get started. Brooklyn on Fire by Lawrence H. Levi is the book that I received from Penguin Random House for review. This book just was released in January, so they sent it to me to review when it came out, but it took a little longer to get here, so I just received it today. Don't know too much about it. I do know it's a historical fiction book. It takes place in Brooklyn, and the main character's name is Mary, who is a detective who works for the Brooklyn Police Department, and she solves crimes, and she has someone who comes into her office convinced that her uncle was murdered, so Mary has to become kind of the investigator on that. Now this is a second book in a Mary Hanley mystery, but it does not like a continuation. They're like separate stories, so you don't really have to read the first one to read this one. So I'm hoping to be able to get to this month and review this and let you guys all know what I think. The next 2 books are the 2 books that I picked up from the library, and that is Arrest by June Gray. This book is the sequel in the Disarm trilogy, and I am currently reading this. I'm about 30 pages in or so, and I'm liking it so far. It's a little slower than Disarm was, but I'll go into this more when I do my wrap-up. The next book is Surrender by June Gray. This is the 3rd and final book in the Disarm trilogy. This is a separate story within the series, but it does kind of continue on as well. It's kind of a side story. And I will hopefully get to this month and discuss it in my February wrap-up. The next 3 books I picked up tonight, these are actually all a book series. I picked all 3 of them up to marathon them. I don't know too much about them. I do know that it has been reviewed by a few people on BookTube, and it has pretty decent ratings on Goodreads, and that is Clockwork Scarab by Colleen Gleason, The Spirit Glass Charade by Colleen Gleason, and The Chess Queen Enigma by Colleen Gleason. I do know that it follows 2 main characters. The one main character is the niece of Sherlock Holmes, and the second main character is the sister of Bram Stoker. It's historical fiction, steampunk, takes place, 1800s England. They solve mysteries, solve crimes, and actually all 3 of these are actually signed by the author, which was a really neat find. You don't see that very often. So I'm hoping that these are good. I want to review these, kind of get these out there if they're really good, and they're very nice. The last books are all of the books that I picked up at Book Outlet this month. All of these books were bought with a theme, as you will soon see. I'm not going to really go much into them. I don't know too much about them. I literally just picked up all of these based on the covers and the fact that they were like 99 cents. So I will go into more of them when I eventually read them and do wrap-ups on them or reviews. The first is The Grace Mysteries by Grace Cavendish. Don't know too much about this book. I do know that it is 2 books in the Grace Mysteries. Assassin and Betrayal are the first 2. It follows the main character, whose name is Lady Grace. She is a maid of honor in the Queen's court. She has to solve crimes, and it's historical fiction, produced by Random House, and the font's pretty big, so it shouldn't take too long, very long to get through it all. the first one, Lady Grace's mother dies, and she becomes the queen's favorite. She wants the queen wants Lady Grace to get married, but Grace does not want to marry any of them, and she has to solve the crime when one of her suitor turns up murdered. And the second one, Betrayal. One of her sister or friends named Sarah goes missing, and Grace says that it's a fool's decision because she will be banished from the court forever, and wonders maybe Sarah didn't run away, what if she was kidnapped? And so Grace goes undercover to track her down and wonders if it's too late. That's really kind of it on that end. Again, the font's fairly big, and since it's 2 books, it will be a pretty easy read. Next book, By Royal Decree, Secrets of the Tudor Court by Kate Emerson. I do know this book follows the main character's name, Elizabeth Brooke. She goes by Bess. She is a young noblewoman who is in the court, in the Tudor court, and she doesn't want to marry the king, but she doesn't have a choice if he kind of picks her to become his wife. I'm really interested by historical fiction. I love historical fictions. The Tudor court is very fascinating to me. King Henry VIII just as kind of an interesting topic. So I kind of just picked up this book. It seemed kind of like it was something I liked since I liked the Tudors. I like this kind of era, and we'll see if it's any good. Also by Kate Emerson, also historical fiction, and also that takes place in the Tudor court with King Henry VIII. The King's Damsel. This actually takes the main character is Mary Tudor, so Mary Tudor and Anne Boleyn are actually the main focus of this book. The Favored Queen by Caroline Erickson, a novel of Henry VIII's third wife, who is actually Jane Seymour. So another book on the Tudor court, another book about King Henry VIII. Kind of a theme going on in these book hauls. I actually kind of realized it a little bit, but not fully. Kind of just picked up all these books because they had girls in dresses. Who knew? So we'll kind of see if this one's any good. Don't even know what these are rated on Goodreads at all. I didn't really look at that beforehand. Book, Till Death, A Fractured Soul. Evangelistica. Sorry if I butchered that. This book is, I'm not really sure. It looks like it was really pretty. The dress was really pretty. The main character's name is Selena. She sees the future. She dreams of her own bloody death, and then things get a little freaky. We shall see. It says here the tagline, surviving a first date should be a given, not a challenge. So it is actually printed by Entangled Teen. Don't know that publishing company very well. So we'll kind of see how this goes. It's a really decent sized book. It's like 300 pages, so it's not too bad. So I'm kind of interested to see what this book's all about. Next book, The Outcast by Kathleen Kent. Again, don't know anything about this book. It says the 19th century on the Gulf Coast. In the 19th century on the Gulf Coast, a time of opportunity and lawlessness. The main character's name is Lucinda, and after she escapes a Texas brothel where she was a prisoner, she meets up with her lover, and they have a plan to make them both rich and chase rumors of a pirate's buried treasure. Again, picked up this book because it had a girl in a dress on the cover and it had a gun, so I actually thought this was going to be something kind of more of a Western. But this is cool too. Should be kind of an interesting read. Pretty decent sized font. It's pretty big, so it should be a pretty easy read. It's like 300 pages. So the cover is not what I was expecting. Next book, The Last Summer by Judith Kinghorn. Again, know absolutely nothing about this book. Picked it up based on the cover, the fact that it was a girl in a dress, and that it's historical fiction. It is a Penguin Random House, so it should be pretty decent. The main character's name is Clarissa. She lives in English country house, takes place in 1914, and she is drawn to the housekeeper's son. Her parents disapprove, and they meet in secret to share what becomes a deep and tender romance. But Tom prepares to join the front lines, and neither he nor Clarissa can envision what lies ahead of them in the dark days and years to come. Nor can they imagine how their love will be tested or how they will treasure the memory of this last perfect summer. So it sounds like it takes place kind of over a whole summer. Don't know much more about that. It's a pretty decent sized book. It's again it's about 430 pages, so it's a fairly decent sized book. The font's not too bad. It's big, but it's not too big. So last book, Such Sweet Sorrow by Jenny Trout. Very pretty, like the title, pretty cover. This book is kind of a mixture of fantasy and historical romance, and historical fiction. It involves Hamlet and Romeo. They they want to pass between the veil of world of mortals and the land of the dead to bring Juliet back to life. So it's kind of a fantasy meets, historical fiction. It's kind of sounds like it's going to be kind of an interesting take on Shakespeare. Again, it's by Entangled Teen. Don't know too much about it. That's really all I know. It says, in an underworld filled with leviathan monsters, ghoulish shades, fire giants, and fierce Valkyrie warriors, Hamlet and Romeo battle their way through jealousy, despair, and their darkest fears to rescue the fair damsel. Yet finding Juliet is only the beginning, and the afterjoy doesn't survive souls without a price. Yeah, it's fairly decent, big size font. Shouldn't take too long to get through. It's 300 pages. I mean, the font's pretty big. So, if you have read any of these, like any of them, don't like any of them, please leave me comments below. I would love to know what I should read first, if any of these are worth reading, and if there's anything that you guys are interested in seeing as far as reviews, I can definitely do that. And keep up with me on Twitter and Tumblr. I'll be posting updates as well on Goodreads, and I will see you guys all next time.